3 scary true stories from my old apartment. Story 1. The Man in the Laundry Room. A few years ago, I moved into an old brick apartment building just outside the city. It wasn't fancy, but it was cheap, and at the time that's all I cared about. The building had 4 floors, thin carpeted hallways, and 1 shared laundry room in the basement. The first week I lived there, everything felt normal. Quiet neighbors. No estrange noises. Just the occasional sound of pipes clanking in the walls. Then one night around 11 p.m., I realized I had forgotten to switch my laundry. I grabbed my basket and went down to the basement. The basement always felt off. The lights were those long fluorescent ones that buzzed constantly. The air smelled like dust and old detergent. When I walked in, I saw someone standing near the dryers. It was a tall guy in a dark hoodie. He wasn't using a machine. He was just standing there, facing the wall. I remember thinking that was weird. I said, excuse me, as I walked past him. He didn't respond, not even a flinch. I tried to ignore it and started moving my clothes from the washer to the dryer. The whole time, I could feel him behind me, not moving, just standing there. The silence felt heavy. The only sound was the hum of the machines. When I turned slightly to look at him, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. He wasn't facing the wall. He was facing me, but his head was tilted down so I couldn't see his face. I froze. "Are you waiting for a machine?" I asked. Still nothing. After a few seconds, he slowly lifted his head. And I swear, he was smiling. Not a friendly smile. A wide, forced smile that didn't match his eyes. His eyes looked empty. I grabbed my basket and left my clothes in the dryer. I didn't care. I just walked out of there as calmly as I could. As I reached the stairs, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, heavy. I didn't look back. The footsteps followed me all the way up to the first floor. Then they stopped. I rushed to my apartment and locked the door. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I went to the landlord and asked about the guy in the hoodie. I described him. The landlord looked confused. He said, "There's no one like that in this building." I insisted I saw him, so he checked the security footage from the basement. And that's when things got worse. The footage showed me walking into the laundry room, talking, standing still for a few seconds, then suddenly grabbing my basket and leaving quickly. But there was no one else there. No man in a hoodie. No one standing behind me. I moved out 3 months later. But the last night I slept there, I heard footsteps outside my apartment door. Slow, heavy, and then 3 quiet knocks. When I checked the peephole, the hallway was empty. Story 2. The vent above my bed. The second strange thing about that apartment involved the air vent above my bed. My bedroom was small. Just enough space for a bed, a desk, and a dresser. Right above my pillow was a square air vent connected to the building's ventilation system. At first, I didn't think much of it, until I started hearing breathing. The first time it happened, it was around 2 a.m. I woke up randomly. I don't know why. The room was dark, but I felt alert. That's when I heard it. Soft, slow, breathing. It wasn't coming from me. It was coming from above. I held my own breath to make sure. And the breathing continued. When I told her about the vent, her face changed. She said, "That apartment used to connect to the one next door. They sealed it off after some incident." I asked what incident. She just shook her head. "They don't talk about it." That night, I stayed awake with my phone flashlight aimed at the vent. Around 3:17 a.m., I heard a faint scratching sound, like fingernails lightly dragging across metal. Then the breathing started again. Closer this time. Louder. I slowly got out of bed and stood on my mattress so I could reach the vent. My hands were shaking as I unscrewed it. The metal cover fell to the floor with a loud clang. The breathing stopped. I shined my flashlight into the dark vent. All I saw was a narrow metal shaft. Empty, or so I thought. As I leaned closer, I noticed something deep inside. 2 small reflections, like light hitting glass. They blinked. I jumped back so hard I almost fell off the bed. There was something in there, watching me. I grabbed my phone and called the police. They searched the building the next day. They found a narrow crawlspace between the walls that connected several apartments. There were empty water bottles, food wrappers, and a blanket, but no person. The crawlspace had been recently used. That vent stayed open until I moved out. I never slept under it again. And sometimes, when I close my eyes at night, I still hear that breathing. Right above me. Story 3. The locked apartment. By the time the third thing happened, I already wanted to leave. But this was the final reason. There was an apartment at the end of my hallway. 4B. It was always locked. Always dark. I never saw anyone go in or out. One night around midnight, I was taking out the trash when I heard something from inside 4B. A loud bang, like something heavy fell over. Then a woman's voice, crying. I froze. "Hello," I called out. The crying stopped immediately. I walked closer to the door. "Do you need help?" Silence. I knocked gently. Nothing. Then I heard whispering, right on the other side of the door. I couldn't make out the words, but it sounded urgent. Panicked. I called the police. When they arrived, they knocked on the door. No response. They contacted the landlord for a master key. When they opened the door, we all expected to see someone inside. But the apartment was empty. Completely empty. No furniture. No boxes. Nothing. Just bare floors and dusty windows. The police searched every room. No one. One of the officers asked me, "Are you sure the sound came from this unit?" I was positive. I heard it clearly. As they were leaving, I noticed something on the inside of the door, scratched into the paint. From the inside, 3 words. "Don't let him." That was it. Cut off mid-sentence. The landlord later told me that apartment had been vacant for over a year. No one had rented it. A week after that, I finally moved out. On my last day, as I was carrying boxes down the hall, I glanced at 4B. The door was slightly open, just a crack. I swear it had been shut all morning. As I walked past it, I heard whispering again. Soft. Right behind the door. I didn't stop. I didn't look inside. And I never went back. Sometimes I wonder who him was, and if he ever left that building. Or if he's still there, waiting. Which story scared you the most? Comment below and subscribe for more true horror stories.